Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining the stream. Welcome, B, Corbin, Justin, Click, Jorge. Thank you guys so much for joining the stream. We are set to have a crazy day in the market. We have AMC exploding in after hours, hitting highs of $44.75. This is crazy. This is just crazy overall. Let us know what stocks you're watching. But Tom, what's going on with AMC? It looks like it's holding support right now, but what's going on?
Yeah, this is just nuts. I mean, I'm not sure if anybody bought shares overnight or early this morning, I should say, or what went on, but obviously the price started really skyrocketing and it ended up breaking that high of yesterday that I thought was going to be pretty hard to break today at 36, let's see, 36.74, I think it was somewhere right around like 36.75 maybe, but it passed right above that all the way up to 44.75, moving very well, but it is coming back down right now in the market open. Maybe watch for 36 to pose as a very good support today. Also, maybe $38 might be a good support, but we're hovering around that one right now. But it's up so much in after hours and it's starting to pull back now, which is worrying me a little bit for the movement throughout the day today. It might be pretty hard to break 44.75 with this huge move already going on. But yeah, this is awesome. I know that there's lots of people posting screenshots in the Facebook group with some awesome positions and stuff like that where they had like 500 shares at $10. And guys, let us know in the comments if you guys have any shares, because this is awesome to see, and it's always good to see the members making some money on stocks like this.
You know it. Welcome, Shelby, Hunter, Matt, and Patel. Thank you guys so much for joining the stream. Tom, how about we check out BABA, BABA? I know we were looking at this one yesterday quite a bit, but it looks like it's bouncing up pretty well in pre-market. It's holding that $219 support. I don't know about you, but like I was analyzing it a little bit last night, and I think this one has potential to continue up for a couple more days as long as we hold this support. We have support at like 219, and then after that we have a little bit of support at like 218.30, you can say. But just looking at their daily chart, they are long overdue for like a nice pop back up.
Yeah, they are. I mean, Baba's really due for it. Like, let's go to that 1 year daily, and you can see how much they've gotten beaten down from these highs at 319. They've almost just went straight down to 204. Not straight down, but man, this is just some crazy movement out of them. But I'm with you. I think that they could start to recover, especially with how much movement there is just back to the upside. I mean, we have lows at 204, highs at 319, and we're only at like 220 right now. And if we go look at that 5-day, 15-minute, it's moving right off the 100 SMA today at open, and it's holding that support that you said. And man, that's a good combination whenever it's on support. And I just think that this stock could hold. I mean, they had some great news yesterday that made it pop up. I'm not sure what went on in China, but almost all the Chinese stocks ended up popping. And man, this is just awesome to see. I think if we hold this 100 SMA today, it could definitely pop up as well as that 219 support, but we'll have to see what happens. The market just opened now and it posted a little bit of a red candle coming down to 219, but hopefully it holds this.
For sure. And then we have B saying, how long do you guys think this will go on? I'm catching FOMO, and I know a lot of other people are. And the thing is, no one knows for sure because there are so many variables. Like, we really don't see setups like AMC too often. These setups are extremely, extremely rare. And what's very unique about this situation is these hedge funds are not backing down. Like, they're not covering. Like, they're actually adding more shares short, which is making these retail traders want to buy more shares to squeeze them. So, like, it's such a unique situation where, like, there's so many variables where it's like it's hard to give like an accurate prediction, because there's so many moving parts. But sorry, but if we keep seeing all this buying activity, I mean, this can last for a couple more weeks. But that's only if we continue to see this like crazy surge of buying.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, it's one of those things you can't really put your finger on exactly. There's a lot of things going on, like he said, and it's one of those scary situations where, especially like if you're day trading or if you're holding it, like swinging it for like a few days or a few weeks, it can be a pretty crazy situation. Like look at this, we moved up to 44.75 in pre-market. Now we're all the way back down to 36 at open, and man, 36 is a good support. It looks like on the 1 minute it's trying to bounce off of this, and hopefully it can hold this and start to move up. But like Mike said, it's hard to pinpoint these things. And this is more of like adapting to the market whenever things like this go on, because you have to just really analyze the movement intraday and be able to really see like what's going on with the movement rather than just, buying the stock and hoping it goes up to 100 a share or something like that.
Gotcha. Check out Airbnb. They actually just broke a pretty nice resistance level right at 146. I think it looks pretty good. One for a day trade, but even for like a short-term swing, I think it has potential. We are just breaking out a resistance right at 146, so this one is definitely on my watch list.
Yeah, me too. It looks awesome. We've been talking about it for the past few days. I know that you've been holding it for a while, Mike,
Yep.
since the lows down here. It's going up pretty well. Looks like it's gonna start to fill this gap, possibly back up. I have a big resistance at 160, and we're pretty far away from there. So hopefully we can start to fill that back up to the bottom of some of these candlesticks that it's hit off of about 4 or 5 times here over the past month or two in March and February.
You know it. And then we have, let's see, we have Corbin saying, NVIDIA, please. Let's check it out. So this stock has just been exploding, and it's going up again today. They are a powerhouse. Like, it's hard to bet against this company because they have so much good news coming out. At the same time, like, they literally went straight up for, like, the past couple weeks. So, like, personally, I think it might be a little bit overextended. We can see, like, in the past, since May 19th, it went from $540 all the way up to $658. So like it's at a point right now where it's like I'm not gonna, I wouldn't buy like calls on it because I feel like it's just overextended. But at the same time, like it's such a powerhouse where I definitely wouldn't play puts on it.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. And it's just a pretty crazy situation because it's finally breaking out above this 650 resistance too. And who knows how high this can go. I know a lot of people were targeting $700, and I think that's pretty attainable. It could even possibly go higher with the split news coming up. I mean, every time we see a split, we see some of these stocks like Tesla and Apple just skyrocket into that. And I wouldn't be surprised if we hit 700 on Nvidia over the next few days. I'm not sure. I can't call the top, of course, but it looks pretty like a pretty good setup here. I like how it's running intraday very well, all the way up to 659, and it looks like it's just going to be a great play to continue on.
You know it. And then let us know what stocks you're watching. We will cover them, guys. We have Shelby saying thoughts on Microsoft. I'm carrying a call, the 250 strike for 618. Let's check it out. So Microsoft, she said the 250 call. It doesn't look bad. Tom, I know we were talking, we were talking about like this type of like current market yesterday, how, we're seeing some stocks at their all-time highs like Nvidia, but you look at some of those blue chip stocks like Apple and Microsoft, and they're still like a good amount off of their all-time highs. And it's not that they're like crashing, it's just there's no solid momentum with them right now. So for that, with that being said, it's not my favorite setup in the world. I like more like the recovery plays right now, CCL, AAL, plays like that, even like some like hotel stocks. Another thing is like I think Airbnb has potential, and if you're looking for like a longer term investment, like I like DraftKings at these levels, Enphase, Peloton, NIO is pretty good too. But if we go back to Microsoft, I do like how you are pretty close to the money. You're only about like $2 out of the money, which is a good sign. The bad sign though is the expiration is pretty soon. Your option expires in 16 days, so time decay will start to get pretty bad. So that's just like the main risk in this specific trade, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so too. There's some time decay here, and it just looks like that some of these stocks like Microsoft and Apple are just starting to like turn over. Apple might be holding this support down here, hopefully, but it looks like over the past few days they've posted, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red days in a row on Apple, which is pretty strange, and 3 red days in a row on Microsoft, and you could say almost 5 because there was just 2 days where it did nothing. So honestly, I don't know what to think. It looks like some of these could start to go down, but Apple's like right on that support too. So hopefully these stocks can start to go back up, because I think they might move. They don't always move together, but they move together a lot of the times. And I feel like if we can see like the QQQ, Microsoft, and Apple all start to pop back up, then I think the market will really come up pretty well.
Good stuff. And then we have B saying thoughts on CCL to the upside for the short term. So I like recovery plays like CCL, AAL, and plays like that, but I like them over the next couple weeks. Like I don't necessarily like it for tomorrow or the day after that. It's more for like a 3 to 4 week potential swing. Looking at CCL, they are trying to bounce right off of this support at $30 each, which is a great sign. I think it looks good overall for a short-term swing, but you got to give it like probably a couple weeks, I'd say. They are bouncing off of a pretty major resistance, especially on that daily chart, right around, you can say like right around that $30.50 area. It actually is double topping, so there can definitely be some chop around this area.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it looks like it's very choppy this morning. If it doesn't hold $30, be careful because it might start to really go down intraday. But like Mike said, I think that it's definitely good for a swing, and it looks like it's really starting to break out here above this level. It did almost double top at 30.75. So if we could break that, it would be even better. But I think that getting shares on CCL is the way to go. Just in case it comes back down in the meantime to like 25 or 20, just to fight that time decay with the options. And it's still a really low price stock. If we go to the max daily here, if we recover back up to $45, let me get my percentage thing here. But if we recover from 30 back up to 45, we're going to go up 47% on the shares alone. And if we go up that high, we're nearing the 1,000 SMA also, and a whole bunch of resistances right at that 45 level. And I would target that honestly over the next few months. Like Mike said, it's not going to happen tomorrow. It's going to take a long time. You can see how long this recovery has been going on since February of 2020. It's just been a slow stair step up, and you can see how volatile these things are. I mean, they went from 10 all the way up to 24, all the way back down to 12. So just be careful. It could easily fall back down to the 25 support or even the 20 support over the next couple months. But then keep in mind, over the next 2 months after that, it could just start rocketing back up, kind of like we're seeing on the chart here.
All right, and then we have Click saying, why Apple is died, no up, no down. Let's check it out. So yeah, it's just been consolidating for what now, like the past 3 weeks or so. It's not really doing anything, like it's not crashing, but that positive momentum is just not there. And I think people are really just resorting into growth plays right now, because like if you look at stocks like DraftKings, NIO, Palantir, they're all down significantly from their all-time highs. And I'm sure investors look at this and they think that they can get a better return on their investment if they invest in into some of these beaten down growth plays. And even if you look at Zoom or Peloton, like they're still pretty low from their all-time highs. And I just think that we're still seeing a larger rotation out of some of these bigger name tech stocks like Apple and Microsoft and into some of the companies that have really struggled over the past couple months. That's just my opinion, but honestly, I don't think it's a bad time to get a longer term investment in like Apple and Microsoft, but right now they're just not the best for short term trading because that movement just isn't there.
Yeah, and I the only thing I would do for short-term trading, guys, is I would just try to play like support bounces or something like that, really quick trades if you were going to do it with Apple, because like you said, there's just not a lot of good movement going on. But if you could catch for example, a good move off of like a support intraday or something like that, or like yesterday, for example, or a couple days ago, like if you would have seen it come down and touch the let's just say the 125 support and then go up off of it to 126 right away, that might be a good buying opportunity. But yeah, swinging it or something like that just doesn't seem too good right now. And honestly, there's a big head and shoulders going on the Apple daily. It's kind of holding this 200 SMA also. If it starts to break below this, man, this head and shoulders might really hold up, and who knows, Apple could start to go down to maybe like 110. I have a huge support on it around, let's see, if it starts going down a lot, maybe like 116, 120 is a good one in the short term. But if we go below that, then look for 110. That's definitely one of the bigger ones. And if it goes down to there, then that's whenever, Mike, I think that we'll start to see those bigger investors start to come back into Apple whenever it's a good opportunity, because right now it's barely away from highs. It's only like 20 points away.
All right, and then we have Sean saying AAL calls for a day trade. I like it to retest $25.09. So AAL is creeping up there, it pulls back, but it just keeps getting bought up again and again and again. It looks pretty good right now, actually. They have resistance right around 25, but I do think it has a lot of potential. It's definitely on my radar. Thanks for pointing that out, Sean, but it doesn't look bad for a day trade, but at the same time, I still think it looks good overall for like a couple weeks swing.
Yeah, I do too. I think it looks good for a swing and possibly a day trade. So maybe both could happen. Who knows? But maybe get on both of our TD accounts, you know.
Yeah,
I know
for sure.
I know you guys can make multiple ones if you guys didn't know that. But yeah, go ahead and look at AAL. If it can break this high right at open at like 24.90, or yeah, like right at 24.90, I think it'll be a great move. I love how it's moving up off the 100 SMA also. And man, this whole sector is just rocketing up. Like we've seen AAL, CCL, UAL, what's another one? We got LUV. They're all flying back up. And, you know, they might be posting a little bit of consolidation like today or yesterday. But other than that, I mean, they've just been straight up. The whole travel industry has had some good news with the economy reopening and everything. And man, like if some of these stocks like CCL can just hold above some of these resistances, it'll be awesome. Like CCL is actually moving pretty good off that $30 resistance, breaking the pre-market high now, moving back up. So maybe they'll head up to 30.75 again.
All right, Tom, what's going on with AMC? I see it's on my high of day scanner right now. Of course, high of intraday. Not that it's not including the pre-market, but how's it doing?
Yeah, pretty good. It's coming back. There's a little bit of a resistance in pre-market here at like 39.50 that it's getting really close to. It looks like it might break out right here again. I mean, it looks like we might be coming back up to 44.75 eventually today. And I hope we do, because there's a lot of investors in this stock, and I'm sure they're pretty happy already if they've been holding. But man, like I said earlier, some of those guys in the Facebook group had these shares at like $10, $9 and stuff like that. They're up quite a bit. So this is awesome to see it keep going. And I hope it can break out, but really look out, because as we head up right here, there's a good resistance. Like I said, at like 39.50, 39.45, somewhere right around there. But if we can break that, I think it'll be awesome. And I love how we actually held some of these supports today. Like we held $36 perfectly and just came right back up. So that's a good thing to see.
There we go. And then let's see some of these questions. We have Jay saying WWDC coming up soon for Apple, so it could be a good catalyst. So yeah, I haven't been following that event too much, but Apple, you know, it can be a good catalyst. It depends on what they say. I just hope to see like Apple just make like a defined move sometime soon, because it's just doing nothing for like the past month actually. So I just hope we see some sort of like, you know, good movement sometime soon.
Yeah, me too. I hope we can start to see a move back up. And it looks like we're holding this 200 SMA on the daily chart. We can see that there's this yellow line right here. It's kind of holding it pretty well. You know, it looks like it's trying to bounce off of that back to the upside. And if we go intraday today on the 1 minute, it's about to break out here. I love how it's holding these SMAs and moving up. If it can start to really break out above 124.70, who knows? This could be a pretty good play. Looks like there is some overhead resistance, of course, because we're heading back to the upside. But yeah, just watch out. I think Apple and some of these tech stocks look like they might start to recover back, Mike. I mean, if we look at the daily, looks like it's kind of like holding that SMA, at least for today. It looks like a pretty good move if it can start to break out.
There we go. And then we have Mike saying thoughts on Palantir, currently holding a 26 strike call for June 11th. How's Palantir doing, Tom? Let's see. Palantir is doing. It's not bad this morning. It's kind of.
It almost looks like
unchanged.
Apple's movement almost.
Yeah, it's been a little choppy lately, but he said he has the 26 strike call for June 11th. So I know right off the bat, the biggest problem with this one is going to be time decay. Palantir can easily rise, but the problem is your option only has a 10% chance of expiring in the money, and it expires next week. So the quality of the option is a little shaky. So honestly, like more than direction, just time decay will be your biggest problem with this one, Mike. You can always like roll your options, or you know, like get closer to the money. But like Tom, like what are you thinking with Palantir in terms of like direction? Do you have any like levels for us or anything like that?
Yes, as far as direction, let's go check out the daily really quick. Yeah, I mean, I think it just looks like that the stock to me it recovered up so well from this bottom here at like $18, just came straight up to $24, $25. I'm not surprised to see it kind of consolidating here. And as it starts to consolidate, I think that we have a pretty decent support around 22, maybe $21. And if we can hold that, I think that'll be awesome. You know, it still might go down from where it is now, like 23, down to like maybe 22 or 21. But we're seeing this with some of these stocks that recover back up. We're seeing like DraftKings post a couple red days now and Palantir too, but that's a little expected because it's almost been straight up off of those lows, like I said. So just keep in mind, like over the next few days, we might see some consolidation out of some of these like growth stocks, but then after a couple days, look for some more movement and look for some breakouts of some key levels here. Let's see, like with Palantir, if we can hold 20 to $22, if we look at the 15-minute, if we can start to break out above 23.50 today, I think that'd be a good intraday trade, maybe up to like 24.25 if you want to do a quick scalp. And honestly, Palantir is holding some of these SMAs pretty well and holding the support. I think intraday there's a good support also at 22.85. So look out for that one.
All right, and then we have Gerard saying, let's see, thoughts on Boeing to the upside. Thank you, guys. Well, thanks for that awesome comment. Let's check out Boeing, Tom. So Boeing has been doing amazing over the past couple weeks. They had a huge bounce from $220 all the way up to $256. Honestly, I would be a little worried about this one. Personally, I feel like it's a little bit overextended in the short term. In the long term, I feel like it can definitely continue past 278. But for the short term, I think it's a little bit overextended. That's just my opinion. So yeah. What do you think, Tom?
Yeah, I think you're right. It looks like we're coming right up to a resistance here around $260, and we're getting really close to it. And like you said, it's almost straight up. It double bottomed really well at 220. Now we're at 260 almost. So that's a 40-point move, pretty big just over like 10 trading days. It's not like it was that many, but honestly, it looks pretty good if it can break out. But there's so much resistance here, and it's been going up so much that just keep in mind, I wouldn't be surprised if it started to consolidate like we're seeing with some of those other stocks, like we're talking about, like Palantir and DraftKings. Maybe I wouldn't be surprised if this posted like 1 or 2 red days either. And that's a big resistance we're coming up on at 260. It's bounced off of it a lot of times in the past, so definitely look out for it. But whenever Boeing likes to run, it likes to run, and we'll just have to see, because if it can break out, it'll be pretty good. But I personally don't think it will here. It might. I think it's going to have a lot of problems getting over these resistances.
All right, and then we have Shelby saying Airbnb to the moon. Yeah, it is popping. It looks great overall. Amazing open today. A lot of volume coming in. Overall, it's long overdue for this pop back up. And I still think it has more potential. It is currently up around 3% today. There is a big resistance right at 150. After 150, there is a little bit of resistance at 155, and then after that, it's like 160. Overall, I love the way it's moving, and I think it has potential to continue up more. Yeah, what do you think, Tom?
I love it. I mean, like we talked about earlier, it's starting to really recover. I love this movement that we're seeing. Earlier today, the movement wasn't as strong. We only saw it at 147 earlier this morning. Now it's starting to really move up to 149. Really good moves, honestly. Look at the 1-year daily. I really like how it's starting to rotate back to the upside here. It looks like as we start to go up, though, like I said earlier in the video or earlier in the episode, look for a resistance around $160. I think that's going to be key over the next couple of weeks or few weeks. But as we start to move up, just keep in mind, if we start to see it go straight up, like we've seen some of those other ones like Palantir and DraftKings, just keep in mind that it will start to consolidate along some of those resistances, I should say, at least for a couple of days. So just keep that in mind as well if you're going to day trade it. But for a swing, it's awesome. And man, I love it. I love how we got it down here at the bottom. It's such a good play. And I love how the economy is reopening and we're getting all that good news too. That's just helping these travel stocks or hotel stocks like Airbnb, where people stay during their travels.
All right. And then Tom, what are you thinking with AMC? It's starting to pop back up. It's not going down without a fight.
Hey, do you think it's going to hit 44.75 again, Mike? I mean, man, it's running. I personally feel like it might today. I mean, who knows? I mean, I know we can't call it, but this is huge. I mean, the 1 minute's really starting to run again, and we're seeing the volume come in and a pretty good rate. Look at that implied volatility start to pop up again, up to 266% again. So yeah, it just keeps getting worse and worse. Oh, it was actually higher at open yesterday. It was at almost 300%. So there we go. But yeah, it's crazy to see, Mike. I mean, it's hard to call. Intraday, I see a good resistance here at 41. If we can't break 41, I'd be a little worried. we might have some trouble getting above that. But if we can rock it above 41 or 42 even, then definitely look for it to hit 44.75 or maybe even 45 a share, because that's going to be insane. And there's a lot of buyers getting driven into this stock, especially, with the prices the way they are. I'm sure that people are looking at this thinking it could be like the next GameStop going to, 100 or 500 or what have you. And it very well could. I never thought GameStop could do it. And who knows, AMC might do it today. And we're seeing it really start to break out now up to 41. And hopefully we can start to break out, because if not, I think 41 is going to be a pretty good resistance along with $42. So if you guys are intraday or if you guys are day trading, really be careful, because I think there's a lot of resistance here and we might see a lot of up and down movement. But who knows? I mean, whenever this stock goes, it likes to go, and we might just see it go straight up. I mean, I have no idea here.
You know it. And then let's see. We have Roberto saying Roblox day trade to the downside. 100 strike puts. What do you guys think? So Roblox, how are they doing? They're popping up right now. He said Roblox to the downside. Let's check it out. Yeah, I mean, it can definitely pay off a lot. It's just like, Tom, every time we look at this stock, like every time it pulls back, it just rockets right back up. And a perfect example of this is, look what happened yesterday. Like right around open, it tried to sell off, got bought right back up, tried to sell off again later in the day, close to the morning, got bought right back up again. So it's like, it has so much like positive momentum and just money flowing into it, where it's like it's hard to bet against it. You know what I mean? Like I remember with Home Depot a couple months ago, like it was just going straight up, and like we were both thinking, like, when is this stock going to pull back? And like it didn't end up pulling back for like multiple weeks, so it's always hard to time the top. So like personally, I'm just gonna stay away from it. It can pay off big time. It's just a matter of timing the top, which is really hard to do.
Yeah, very hard. And bringing up Home Depot, it looks like Home Depot might start to be tanking off here over the next few weeks, Mike. I mean, man, this thing looks like it's looking pretty bearish now below that 320 support and just failed to break out. So, man, watch out for Home Depot possibly to the downside again. I know that we've been talking about it quite a bit since it hit the top at 345. And, I'm really curious to see how lumber's doing /LBS. And look at this, lumber is finally pulling back pretty hard. And, it started to pull back a little bit a few days ago, but man, it's starting to really come down now. And if that starts to crash, I think I think that'll help the housing market, number one, because there's, a lot of builders right now are kind of upset at the price of lumber. Of course, this is kind of insane, but yeah, I think it'll help the housing market. It's good, but it might hurt stocks like Home Depot and Lowe's and stuff like that. But man, this is just insane out of Home Depot. And hopefully these lumber prices can hold up, or else I think this stock might keep going down.
Alrighty. And then we have, let's see, we have B saying, what's going on with CCIV? It's catching some good gains this morning. Yes, it is. It is popping. I think it's just like, kind of just like normal market movement, you can say. It's been taking a beating over the past couple months, and I just feel like it just got hammered down too low. So that's the main thing. A couple days ago, I saw a lot of smart money entering, so that could also play a role.
Yeah, I think this stock looks great, though. Honestly, it looks pretty good for like a recovery. And I love Lucid Motors. I love the way their cars look anyways, let alone I have to see how the production and stuff goes. But yeah, I love the way they look. I think that there's some potential with them to gain some traction as a decent EV company if they can, start to get going finally. But this daily looks pretty good. And I remember Mike telling me yesterday about those the big buyers coming in and a lot of big institutions buying. So it looks like that would be a pretty good scenario, honestly, if we saw a lot of big money coming in off that $20 support. I mean, it looks pretty good and it's starting to break out. So there's a long recovery back to the upside. I'm not sure we'll ever be able to get back up to 64.80, or if we do, it might take a long time. But man, in the short term, I would think we could possibly hit like the $25 resistance pretty well. And if we go look at the 1 minute, I mean, it's starting to really break out today as well, running up to highs and breaking out as I'm speaking here at like 22.60. So just awesome movement out of CCIV and all these EV stocks. Really, like, let's go check out NIO. NIO was up there earlier this morning too. They're starting to pull back now a little bit, but the movement was initially bullish until the past 5 minutes.
Yeah, for sure. And then we have, let's see, with the next question, we have Shelby saying, check out NOK. How's this stock doing, Tom? I know we were talking about it a ton a couple months ago, but it is holding its ground, which is awesome to see. I know a lot of people are holding on to it, but I'm glad to see it trending up. I think it looks pretty good, and I'm sure that it's trending up because remember last time in January when GameStop and AMC and every other stock exploded, NOK was one of them, so I'm sure there's some sympathy there. We can see Ivy is rising, which can show that a lot of people are just bidding up the call options. So, yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, hopefully this keeps going. I mean, it looks pretty decent. I remember me and you were looking at it a lot around this $5 level where it consolidated for a couple of months, and we were kind of like waiting for a breakout. And I think it's finally going up now. And you're right, it's more of a sympathy play, I think. Obviously they do stuff with 5G and stuff like that. And a lot of the members in the Discord, they research it a lot. So if you guys have any questions, go in the Discord and ask like Icy or someone like that about this, because I know they love it. But man, make it. I just think that intraday, I'm not sure about it. It looks like it's starting to pull back a little bit, which is a little bit unfortunate. But on the daily, it looks pretty good. Honestly, we broke out above $5. I think it could keep going possibly, especially with GameStop and AMC going. Like we can see, like Mike said, in January, this stock popped from $4 all the way up to $9.79 and back down just within like 3 or 4 trading days. So that's pretty crazy to see. And honestly, I think it could go up again, but I don't think it's gonna rocket like it did last time up to 979 or anything like that. But it would be nice to kind of see it just start to slowly stair step itself back to the upside and kind of get away from some of these lows at $3. Because if we go look at the max weekly, I mean, man, ever since 2000, this stock has just gotten beaten down, and hopefully it can start to recover, because if not, I mean, they might have to eventually go bankrupt in the next like 5 to 10 years, if they don't turn it around. But they have been turning it around a little bit, and hopefully they can get into that 5G game and start to really turn their stock around here.
All right, then we have Samuel asking about SKLZ. This one is doing very, very well today, up around 10%. It's just kind of been consolidating for like the past couple weeks, but I think it's at a pretty good level right now. It has a relatively high implied volatility, so this one isn't bad if you're looking to like sell puts on it. You can get some pretty nice premiums, and it's running up pretty nicely right now.
Yeah, it looks nice. There's a pretty good double bottom down here. And, we haven't been seeing this a lot with these recovery plays. But, Mike, I know that we haven't talked about these types of setups in quite a while, actually. But it almost looks like a good double bottom at like 1250, as well as like it might be in like a little bit of like a W play, or you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, for
It
sure.
almost looks like a good W. And it looks like it might start to fill this right side or fill this gap, maybe back up to like $25, or maybe the resistance around like 2250 or 23. But it does look pretty decent, especially like if it can come up and test 23. Like I said, that would look pretty good. And I like it that it's double bottoming as well. And this is a pretty big stock. It had a lot of hype for a little while, and it just pulled back with all the rest of them. So hopefully, like as Palantir, Zoom, Peloton, and the rest can start to recover back, hopefully SKLZ can go up too. And it looks like there was a lot of buyers here. A lot, actually. If we look at the volume on this daily chart, a ton of buyers bought this up at a very low price, which is good. So hopefully that holds those lows down there around $14, and we can start to really go up over the next couple of months. And it honestly looks pretty good. Like I said, it looks like a good W formation here. And if it does start to go, like I said, at the high side, target 25, at the low side, target 2250 to 23.
Tom, I don't know if we jinxed Apple or what, but it's running up pretty nicely so far. It's still technically stuck in its range, but it's starting to pop up pretty well, especially intraday. We're starting to see more buyers come into it, but maybe we see Apple pop back up. I don't know.
Yeah, come on, Apple, hold this 200 SMA, please go up for me. Because if not, I think it's gonna look pretty bearish. But yeah, let's hope it keeps going up. 5-day, 15-minute intraday. Yeah, there we go. Really starting to move back up. Hopefully we can see it start to move back up to maybe like 125.50 as we start to move on today. I think that would be a pretty good target intraday if you wanted to look at something. But man, it's like you said, it's hard to call right now because it's just been doing nothing and just consolidating. It might start to go up because we're on the SMA and the support. So that might be a good technical to play it off of. But it looks like, we kind of missed the bottom here, at least, intraday today at open would have been a good time to, maybe get into some quick calls or something like that. But as far as we're going right now, intraday today. I'm not sure it can pop up a lot more. Like it'd be pretty crazy to me if we saw Apple have like a good like 4% day or something like that today, but it could definitely keep going a little bit more, I think. But intraday, it looks like there is some chop. I would say be pretty careful of the 125.20 level. I think that's going to pose as a pretty good intraday resistance today. So just be a little careful. Are you seeing any levels, Mike?
No, I'm not seeing any levels on Apple, but I am seeing a huge level on AMC. It's still popping up. It has a little bit of a chop right around 42.50. And then after that, it's at all-time high right around 44.75. It is really running up, Tom. Tons of volume coming into it. And, like, like if I was short this stock right now, I don't even know. Like, I mean, these hedge funds have to be, like, terrified right now because it's just exploding. Like everyone just keeps buying into it and it just keeps exploding.
Yeah, I bet their banks are pissed because they probably keep asking for more loans.
Yeah,
They're
yeah, I
probably
know.
the banks are like, man, you're not going to be able to pay me back, so I have to keep lending to you.
I know. I'm trying to pull up some of these like crazy trades on AMC. Like I'm looking at the 20 strike calls that expire on June 18th, and I know that it's super easy to look back on this, but I think it's pretty cool to look at. So the June 18th calls, the 20 strike calls on May 21st were $65 each. Today they are worth 2,200 each. That's crazy. That's crazy. It just goes to show you, one, IV rising, but then also two, the stock price obviously exploding. So just crazy movement.
Yeah, and we saw a big trade yesterday from Mudrick Capital. I don't know if anyone read this article. I know you did, Mike, but yeah, Mudrick Capital ended up buying in for 8.5 million shares. Like they did an offering with AMC, and AMC had to create a filing yesterday, but they ended up buying 8.5 million shares at 27.12 a piece, and then they sold out somewhere around the highs, and they're estimating that they could have made somewhere around $40 million on the play if they would have gotten out at the highs of yesterday. And it looks like they did get out at those highs because we saw a lot of volume come in intraday at that high around like 33.60, and it just tanked AMC down whenever that happened. And I think that's whenever they sold out of those shares. But that's another crazy trade. 8.5 million shares on that offering. They got it early in pre-market. Like I said, at 27.12. I don't even know how they got that price, but I guess because it was an offering, of course. But it ended up being pretty crazy because then Mudrick just sold it later that day for 40 million. And I bet they're pretty angry today because they could have made a lot more, honestly. But that's still a pretty decent takeaway, especially just for a quick morning trade, a quick 40 million there.
You know it. And then we have KG saying thoughts on XOM. So ExxonMobil, they are doing pretty well right now. They're holding their ground, and I actually like the setup for like a couple week swing. Their options are normally pretty well priced. IV is extremely low right now. I like the setup overall. What do you think?
Yeah, me too. What's the ticker again?
ExxonMobil.
Oh, XOM. Sorry, I thought okay. Exxon and Mobil, yeah. So 60.86 looks pretty good. I honestly like it moving up, and oil had a good day yesterday. Slash CL had a good day. It's pulling back a little bit today, but overall, if gas prices and stuff stay high, Exxon and Mobil is going to do pretty well. And I love how they're moving intraday here. They tried to really have a quick sell off at open, but like we see sometimes, Mike, with these stocks that are moving strongly, they recover right back. And Exxon did do that and recovered right back up. I think if it can break 60.86, it looks like a pretty good intraday trade, honestly. And if we go to that daily, the 1 year daily, it's starting to really recover back up from some of these lows. I mean, we have the lows were all the way down here at 30. We're all the way up at $60 now. We're honestly almost up to those pre-COVID levels if we can hit like the $65 resistance. And I've had 65 targeted for a long time on my chart to hit, and hopefully we can hit that over the next few months. It looks like we're holding a lot of supports. And like I said, with the gas prices up and oil up, that just helps Exxon even more.
All right, and then we have Vicky saying, good morning, SKLZ and Fubo, please. So SKLZ, I actually like both of these setups. I think they have a lot of potential to continue up. I like both of them, actually. I just checked, I think they look pretty good. I was actually looking at Fubo right before you called this out, but I like both of these setups. IV's it's at a good level, so options aren't a bad thing to do. Of course, you can get some pretty good premiums because IV in general is higher than like a stock like Coca-Cola. So overall, I like the setup for calls or shares or even short puts.
Yeah, it looks like it could be a pretty good intraday trade as well. I mean, it's just moving very well today. I think you're right. It looks like a pretty decent stock, recovering up very well. And it's a streaming service that does sports. So just keep in mind, like the sports betting world is getting pretty big, and a lot of people might come into, Fubo as that type of sector just keeps growing over the next few years. Like as more states start to legalize sports betting and more places in Europe and stuff like that, then it'll just be even better for Fubo, which is already recovered up very nicely. This recovery looks really good, Mike, on the daily chart. It looks like it's doing very well. I know a lot of people were buying shares at the lows and at that $15 support, but it looks like a pretty good recovery play. As we start to go up, I think watch for the $30 resistance. That's going to pose, I think, is a good level over the next few days. We're about 3.5 points away from there right now, so just be a little wary as it starts to go up. But this is an amazing move, and honestly, like I probably won't trade it today with how much it's up, but if we can start to see some movement like tomorrow at open, like we saw today, that might be a good opportunity.
All right, and then we have Kathy saying the SPY is moving up. Yeah, it's really trying to. It sold off a little bit at open, but it came right back up, and it's just holding its ground right now. Then we have Toby saying UONE for a Juneteenth run up. Let's check it out. UONE. Let's see how it's doing. It is, wow, it's running up pretty well actually, up around 22%. A lot of volume flying into it. Overall, like the setup looks decent. Like it's just a risky play, given that it was a penny stock a couple days ago. But we could see in the past it has a lot of volatile movement, so it definitely has potential.
Yeah, this is pretty crazy. And I just looked up what they did. It just says that they're an American media conglomerate, but this is pretty crazy to see. This is some crazy movement. Like I said, moving up to 54.16, which is insane whenever it did that, whenever it came onto the market or whatever happened, whenever it went up there. But that's insane to see. 54.16. Now it's down to 10.48, and it looks like it's running up again. Who knows how high it can go, but it definitely looks like a pretty good momentum play if you can keep catching that momentum. Like right now, it kind of is consolidating. So maybe if it starts to run back up here, you might be able to get in for another trade. But this is absolutely insane. Like, man, this is like a pretty good penny stock here. I'm going to have to look more into this company. I haven't really seen too much about them over the past few weeks. So I'll have to look into what they do. But honestly, it looks like a pretty good setup here. It's running well. And the daily scares me a lot, but the intraday looks very good.
All right, and then we have Muscle saying AMC hit $40 for a fraction. Go, the baby needs shoes. Seriously, watching AAL, Nvidia, and CCL. AMC's trying, Muscle. It's holding its ground, so that's a good sign. But if we look at AAL, I still like it overall for I think a couple weeks swing. You can say Nvidia is a powerhouse. We already know that. They're still exploding past their all-time high. And then they have that split pretty soon. And then CCL is a pretty similar setup to AAL, but they're actually breaking above their resistance level right now. So this is a good sign.
Yeah, CCL honestly looks really good. We had this upper resistance at $30, and it passed above there yesterday and just consolidated there for a couple of days and pre-market today, and it's starting to really break out. And whenever we see setups like this where it holds these resistances after it breaks out like this pretty well, normally they keep running. And if we look at CCL on the daily, it looks like there's just a lot of potential to keep going up. And I definitely don't go all into this, but I think it'll be a pretty good trade over the next couple of days, the couple of weeks. It might not go up tomorrow necessarily, but give it a little time. You're going to need to go like a week or two out at minimum, I'd say, if you want to catch a good move. But if we look at the daily, I mean, it's just absolutely nuts how much it's been on this level, like around $30. It hit it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times now. So hopefully we can start to finally go up, because that's a lot of touches on that.
All right, and then we have Matthew asking about the DAX, the German 30. So overall, it's just like a nice slow and steady uptrend. It's not really moving too much right now. It gapped up yesterday. Overall, I mean, it's just stuck in that slow and steady uptrend, which I guess is a good sign, So Do you have any like levels on this, Tom, or like anything you're watching?
Yeah, I went to the max weekly, and it's just because I can't see all the way back, but going back to 2014, it looks like it's at highs right now, which is pretty good, honestly. It's starting to break out above that $34 previous high there that happened all the way back in like 2017. So definitely look out. I think as we start to go up, this could maybe, start to fly up over the next few days, if as long as we can keep holding up above 34. I think 34 is going to be a very key level to be watching on the DAX. But I don't really keep too much news up like with the European sector or anything like that. So I'm not too sure with the fundamentals behind this, but with movement, I love how it's breaking out above that all-time high of 34 and starting to really run up. And I would think it could possibly keep going for the short term, but it's recovered up so much from that low of COVID. I mean, man, 17 all the way up to 35. It's almost, it just barely more than doubled here. So that's a pretty good move, honestly.
All right, and then we have Mike saying thoughts on JD. What are you thinking, Tom?
Yeah, JD, it kind of reminds me of Baba popping back up. Not quite the same setup, but looks pretty decent. We're coming up to some resistance at like $80, but man, looks really good. It's recovering up like we're seeing a lot of the other stocks like Zoom, Palantir, DraftKings, others start to come back. I think that JD will start to come back as well. It's not like JD's a bad company or anything like that. I think they just had some negative momentum in the short term, and they'll start to recover back over the next few months, the couple of years. And this is a stock though that, with some of these other growth stocks like Palantir, Zoom, DraftKings, maybe, and others, they're a little bit more volatile. I mean, JD is pretty volatile too, but I would get more time on this one just in case there's some weird catalyst, like some foreign catalyst or something like that comes out that might hurt it in the short term. I would definitely try to get more time on this one than with a stock like CCL, for example.
All right, and then let's see. We have Bravo saying, "Good morning, guys. This market is tough. I can't tell a trend. How do you feel about Big Daddy P moving the market this week?" We haven't heard too much about Powell lately, but I know that he is speaking on Friday, pretty early in the morning, like regarding central banks and climate change. It's not like an FOMC press conference or anything like that. It's not even like a minutes meeting. So of course, he can move the market, but like it's not like an FOMC press conference. So like, I'm not really worried. I'm not really worried about it unless he says something absolutely crazy. But there's always that risk that he moves the market significantly either way. Then he said, "Isn't DraftKings trade on tech stock? Why is it dropping?" So DraftKings, it is like, yeah, it is a tech stock, but it's kind of different. Like you could say like Palantir is a tech stock too, and it's been dropping a lot. So like, I would more classify it as like a growth stock. So like you
Or
look at,
casino.
yeah, or even like gambling. So like you look at DraftKings, NIO, Palantir, they're all like, personally, I would like mainly classify them as a growth stock. And generally over the past like 2 or 3 months, all growth stocks have just been getting hammered. So I just think like it's just that overall negative momentum driving it down in the short term.
Yeah, for sure. I think so too. It's not a bad play still. I mean, the thing with DraftKings is that it was at $40, bounced off that support and just rocketed back up to 52.09. So like I said earlier in the episode, just keep in mind, don't be surprised to see a little consolidation here. If it comes back down a little bit, don't be too worried. I think it's still going to be good in the longer term, and they still have that $40 support. So there's a lot of room between the high here of 52 and the low of $40. So just keep in mind, it can move anywhere between there. But we did kind of hit this 200 SMA pretty perfectly on the daily and start to come down. And another thing that I saw is that Penn Gaming is also starting to come down as well. And I know that those two, they're not obviously the same stock, but they're in the same sector. And I think that with both of them kind of coming down, it might just show that maybe some of those like gambling stocks or those like online gaming stocks are just coming down a little bit right now. But like I said, just look out, because it looks like it's turning over very slightly, but this is why we get time, guys. Like if you were buying at 49.60, this is why it's important to get some contracts that expire, 2 months out, 3 months out, maybe even like January contracts. Those are really good. But this is why, you got to get time, because these stocks they just don't go straight up, like they go up, they go down, they consolidate in the middle. So you just have to kind of look at that whenever you're trading and just kind of understand that the things go up and they go down. And even though it's down, it's only down like $1 or $2. It's not like it's really down that much either.
True that. And then we have Bravo saying TNX is dropping too. The treasuries, it's like chopping 150 to 160 area. I can see it moving up tomorrow or after. Yeah, like even if we look at TLT, which is pretty similar to TNX, like when TLT falls, that means rates are rising. So yeah, I mean, they really haven't been doing anything for like the past couple weeks. Hopefully we do see some movement out of them sometime soon. I know Michael Burry was playing TLT puts. He got in them a while ago. I'm not sure if he's still holding. There's no way for us to know 100% because we can't track his direct trades. But overall, it looks like the rates are gonna keep rising to me. So we'll see what happens. Really, it just depends on like the inflation data that comes out. Then we have T saying APPS, please. Let's check it out, Tom. Let's see. So it is down around 4% today. Looks like bad earnings. What do you think?
Yeah, it actually hit a resistance right at $70 too, like right as that happened. So it was at resistance and had bad earnings at the same time. That just seems like a double-edged sword there. And it just definitely started coming down. Looks like there's a decent support though intraday around 65. I think if we can hold that, it would be good. But honestly, this is some pretty negative movement out of this stock, and it might continue to the downside. I don't know what this company does. It's called Digital Turbine. I don't know what they do fundamentally, but the stock really looked well over the past like couple years. But it's up a lot, up to 102. It still has a lot of movement, back to the downside. And it honestly looks like it recovered up with a lot of those growth stocks. And it might just, we might have to just see it retest these supports at like $55, $54 and see what happens, especially with those bad earnings. But yeah, I'm definitely going to look a little more into this company to see what they do. But this is pretty insane, down 4%. And those earnings, it's not like yesterday in after hours, for example, the earnings were very parabolic. And then today it opened, it just tanked off, which is unfortunate. Sometimes we'll see it actually go down when the earnings release happens. Sometimes it'll happen whenever market opens, but this is what's been happening with earnings lately. And it's just a bad situation for the stock.
All right, and then we also have Bravo asking about oil and then like Chevron specifically. I like the setup right now. IV's low, so options are cheap. The chart looks good. It's trending up overall. It's bouncing off support at 105. The next major resistance isn't until like 110, like 112, you can say. I like the setup, and I think the trend looks pretty good.
It does look good. It looks very good. I think that going forward, these companies are going to do pretty well if gas prices can stay up and stuff like that. Crude oil is really breaking out. Like if we go to /CL on the daily, I mean, it's really starting to rocket up. OPEC just said that they're going to start doing slow production increases, which should actually send the price down. But in the short term, anything can happen. There's been a lot of Middle Eastern news. Obviously, lots of news with inflation causing gasoline to go up as well. Just everything, tons of market factors have been causing this. But OPEC is trying to keep the price somewhat around where it is. But it's just the question is will they be able to? And they're going to do slow hikes over the next few months. So it's not like it's a big hike coming in right now. That's probably why it's continuing to fly up. But as oil goes up, there's some upper resistances around 75, and we're at 68 right now. So if we start to go up, definitely target $75. I think that'll be a very good area to hit. But crude oil has just really recovered. I mean, it was awesome to see it really low. Gas prices were low for a long time, and now they're starting to really skyrocket. I know it's making a lot of people angry, at the pumps, of course, and it's definitely causing a bit of a disturbance, like in the overall market. But I actually had an economics teacher told me something one time. He said, if you ever complain about the gas prices, you don't know what you're doing, because he said you should just own an oil stock or own like an oil ETF or something like that. And if you have to pay an extra $10 into your gas pump every time, it's not going to matter if you make an extra 10 grand on your oil stocks,
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And then we have Bravo saying, guys, when you hit 1,000, activate Super Chat. It's fun. We definitely will. We definitely will. Well, thank you for joining up, guys. Thanks for joining the stream and asking great questions. But, Tom, how's AMC doing? I know it's, lingering right around that $40 area. Looks like IV is still creeping up there it's holding its ground. You know what I mean? Like, it's just crazy. Like, especially this pre-market movement. Like, it's just crazy movement, and I think it's awesome to see how it's holding its ground. Like, it's not just tanking off. Like, I think it shows a lot of strength.
Yeah, definitely. And it looks like you said, it just dipped down a little bit over the past few minutes. Now it looks like it's trying to come back up. It is posting a red 1 minute candle, of course, but it looks like it's trying to come up. I think if it can hold some of these SMAs and this support here around 39 to 40, like you said, that's going to be a pretty good intraday level. I think a lot of traders are going to look at that $40 level and say, wow, that might be a pretty good opportunity here. So we'll have to see what happens. But man, this is just still insane. I was kind of expecting maybe some downwards movement, especially with what we saw at open happen, but it's good that it recovered right back. And hopefully we can head up to those highs at 44.75. That would be the best case scenario, in my opinion, is to hit that or break it. And I like it. Looks like we finally got a green candle on the 1 minute. We might start to recover back up here. And I think as the day goes on, AMC might just do that slow and steady move to the upside like we've been seeing over the past few days. Like yesterday, it tanked it open and then just slowly recovered back up all day. And it could do that again today, slowly recover all the way back up to 44.75. I wouldn't be surprised. It's a crazy stock, crazy movement. And I even saw some news that AMC was going to help their investors out at the movie theater. Like if you go to the theater, they'll give you free popcorn and like some free movie screenings or some premiere screenings or something like that. So it's pretty crazy to see that they're doing this stuff for their stockholders as well. And it looks like they're trying to really hold those prices up. And who knows, maybe they're trying to like get some offerings or something if the price can stay up, or who knows, but AMC could take a huge advantage of these prices being up like this. Like I said, if they could do offerings, they did one yesterday to Mudrick Capital and ended up raking in 230 million. So they have a lot of good opportunities right now.
All right, and then we have Games saying, what do you guys think of KOS? So this is a penny stock. We don't really trade penny stocks too much. It is double topping right around that 370 area. It's not bad. It's just we don't really trade penny stocks.
I think this is more of like an oil stock.
Yeah, it looks like it. Energy play. So it's not bad, but like you look at that max weekly chart, and I can just never invest in like a chart that looks like this. Like this max weekly looks pretty brutal, like straight down. So it can pop up. It's not my favorite setup though.
Yeah, I looked it up. It says that they're an upstream oil company founded and based in Dallas, Texas, while previously incorporated in Bermuda. So that's pretty crazy. But yeah, it's obviously it's an oil stock and it's gotten beaten down. Yeah, this max weekly chart is just pretty bad. Personally, I would say if you want something in this sector, just go look at CVX, XOM, something like that. I think that's going to be a lot better than this stock. Obviously, this stock's had a lot of fundamental problems over the past few years, which is why it's went down so much. And just it's scary, but there's a lot of growth potential to it. Like you could make 100% almost if it goes back up to pre-COVID highs, but at the same time, it's just so risky. I wouldn't touch it.
All right. Morning, Raphael. Thanks for joining the stream. And we have Bravo saying, I have an interesting reopening play. Check out RICK. It's a night/strip hospitality stock. I don't own it because it's too high. I mean, it is exploding over the past year. You can say like, it went from like 10 all the way up to 80 almost. So I would definitely expect a pullback sometime soon. It's definitely an interesting play, but I'm kind of with you, Bravo. Like, I really wouldn't want to buy in at these levels. It just seems pretty overextended to me.
Yeah, it almost reminds me, it's obviously not the same thing, but it almost reminds me of Home Depot, like we're just waiting for it to go down now at this point. It looks like it almost triple topped at like 81.60 or like 81.65. So really be careful. I mean, I think over the next few days, it could start to maybe have that start to the downside if it doesn't break out. So honestly, I wouldn't touch it. I think it has a lot of movement to the downside, like Mike said, and it's just a pretty crazy thing to see. It's up a lot. And even though like a lot of these growth stocks that went up as much as this one did, a lot of them started to come back down, but this one actually held up. And I'm not sure if that's a sign of strength or a sign of that the company is just moving totally different than those other stocks and that it might be due to come down now. Who knows?
All right, Tom, what do you think of X? Bravo's asking. It does have support at like 24 and then resistance right around like 30. What do you think? I mean, to me, it looks okay. Like, it's not my favorite setup, but I don't think it's horrible either.
Yeah, it's holding this blue trend line I've had on here. It's touched it like 8 times now, but honestly, my big worry is that we see lumber and steel and oil up so much right now, specifically lumber and steel more than oil. And lumber and steel have just skyrocketed, So with X, they're doing very well with steel prices going up. If steel prices start to really tank down, that could hurt X a lot in the short term, which is unfortunate to see. But if X goes down for the longer term, I think there's a decent support at $15, and that's a long way away from where we are right now. It had lows of $6. So it's a very volatile stock. It'll move a ton. And it's starting to look like on the daily, it posted a red day today. Looks like it might start to come down, honestly. I think that with lumber up so much, steel up so much, and just the inflation going rampant, like whenever those commodities start to come back, I mean, all the stocks that have been benefiting from those are gonna, I think, in my opinion, they'll get hurt in the short term. We'll have to see what the movement does, but personally, like if steel starts to crash, I think X will start to crash, and it's up a lot this year. Like we've been seeing these steady stair steps to the upside, and it is holding this trend still. So I honestly, I would be bullish on it till it broke this trend. Once it goes below this, then I would maybe get some puts on it or something like that, or just close out of my longs. But it's definitely going to be a volatile stock with volatile movement going on, especially with these infrastructure bills, steel, and everything like that.
All right, and then we have Gerard asking about what we think of ROKU to the upside at these levels. So I'm not sure if you're asking for like a day trade or like a longer term swing trade. If it is like a longer term swing trade or even a couple week swing trade, it's not my favorite because we are in a descending channel. It is making lower highs and at the same time also making lower lows. So like for a swing trade, it's not my favorite. For a day trade, it's not bad. It is at support right now. If we go intraday, yeah, it is at support right at 340, and it's not bad for a dip buy. We can see yesterday at these exact same levels, it went from 341 all the way up to 350.
Yeah, it did. That's actually pretty crazy. And like if we go to that 5-day, 15-minute, it has a lot of movement, like yesterday it opened, like you said, just tanks and then comes back. So it could definitely maybe recover back up today. Who knows? But to me, it looks pretty bearish on the daily chart. Personally, it looks like it might start to, it almost reminds me of like a lot of these growth stocks that have been recovering back up now. They're getting some chop and they're starting to just move back to the downside. And I think Roku will be awesome for like the next year or 2 years. If you want to get some shares, I don't think that's bad. I personally would only average in here. I would not start my whole position here. I might do like a quarter of a position at 350. Hopefully it can go down. You get another quarter of a position at 300 and then maybe at like 325 if it starts to bounce back or something. But I think for the long term, it'll be decent. But for the short term, I'm with Mike. I think it could definitely keep going down. That's a pretty bad setup on the daily. It looks like it might start to really tank off to the downside here, which is unfortunate. And it's just it's a bad thing to see. We're seeing it. We're seeing a ton of stocks start to have this kind of roll off here, like Roku, DraftKings, even PLTR, even having a few red days. It's kind of getting a little scary for some of these stocks. Like if they start to come down a little bit, I don't think it's terrible. It's just up and down movement, but it's definitely gonna shake out a lot of people who have calls or who have shares. That's for sure, unless they're very disciplined. And I think if you have shares, it's not too bad. But if you have calls and it starts to tank down over the next couple of days, it'll definitely shake people out.
Alrighty, and then we have KA saying, what do you guys think about Baidu? The 210 strike calls for 618 at $370 each. So it looks like you're down about $100 right now. It's not bad. I like the setup. The only thing is the option's a little shaky. It only has around a 25% chance of expiring in the money. So I would say that the time decay will definitely be your biggest problem with that one. And then we have Matt saying BB on the hype for a swing. Yeah, BlackBerry, they normally run up with like hype stocks run up like AMC and even GameStop. Intraday, it does look pretty similar to AMC. So if we do continue to see like positive movement with AMC, I'm sure that will definitely benefit BB. But Tom, do you have any last minute stocks or anything you're watching for the rest of the day?
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to be watching the SPY for sure. It looks like it's starting to maybe recover back up, which might be a good sign. If we can start to recover back up to those all-time highs, it would be fantastic out of the overall market, especially with like AMC going up and stuff too. Sometimes we see the market get a little shaky whenever AMC and GameStop fly up, but it seems like the SPY is holding its ground pretty well, which is good to see. The QQQ Let's go check that one out. It's holding its ground pretty well today also, as some of these tech shares just start to fly up, like we saw NVDA flying up as well. Personally, it looks like a pretty good day for tech overall. I might be watching Apple, honestly. We're seeing Apple start to recover back. We look at Apple on the daily, and I was talking about this one with Mike yesterday. I personally saw it going down, and Mike saw it going up, and it was pretty good to see it hold this SMA and go back to the upside here. I think it might show that Apple might hold this support, which is awesome. If it can hold 124, that's amazing. It'll be a pretty good swing over the next couple of weeks for it if it can start to go back up. So definitely look at it. That's a pretty good bottom there at 124. And on that daily chart, like I said, it's on that 200 SMA also, where it's bounced a few times in the past. So over the next couple of days, it might be a pretty good opportunity for a pretty good swing, maybe up to like 127 or 128.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining in on the live stream. Tom and I had a great time, and thank you guys so much for asking great questions. We really appreciate the support.